1 million tickets. Let that sink in. In an industry where moving even a fraction of that can crown you a legend. Kendrick Lamar just emptied an entire tour schedule before the first curtain even lifted. No leaks, no delays, no gimmicks. Just demand so volcanic it cracked the ceiling of what hip-hop tours are even supposed to do. This isn't just a bragging rights headline, it's a signal flare. It says something about where the culture's energy lives right now, about who can turn curiosity into commitment, streams into cities, and hype into hard tickets. This is history not as nostalgia, but as a live feed. So how did we get here? How does a single move rewrite an entire business model? And what does it mean for every other superstar watching the board shift beneath their feet? Let's break it down. 1 million tickets. That's not a milestone, that's a meteor. In a touring economy that has been fragile since the pandemic, where even established acts fight to hit consistent sellouts, Kendrick Lamar didn't just move tickets. He moved the conversation, and the crazy part, didn't even start loud. No 10-minute Instagram live tease. No billboard campaigns with cryptic QR codes. No surprise leaks. It's just a clean announcement. Dates, cities, links posted across his official accounts. A simple post that read less like hype and more like a statement. We're coming. Within 10 minutes, the first venue reported high demand. Within an hour, the first date went sold out. Then the second. Then the third. What initially looked like a fast-moving presale quietly escalated into something the industry hadn't seen. At this scale before, every announced show in every city fully gone by the end of the week. Verified receipts tallied over 1 million. Seats claimed, not reserved, not in carts. Paid, locked, gone. The ripple effect started immediately. Blogs raced to post timelines. Podcasts uploaded emergency episodes. Financial analysts who usually cover tech stocks started writing about the Lamar tour phenomenon. They weren't being cute. They were responding to an event behaving like a market anomaly, because this wasn't about nostalgia. It wasn't a legacy act cashing in on memories. It wasn't a farewell tour. It wasn't even pegged to a new album cycle. This was demand for presence, demand to be there. People didn't buy a night of music. I bought a night of cultural participation. A chance to say, later, I was in the building when it happened. And that's what separates this from the normal touring cycle. Most artists sell shows. Kendrick just sold significant stock. Behind the scenes, promoters scrambled to understand the velocity. Ticketing algorithms are built to handle spikes. But even their load balancing systems started flagging unusual activity. It wasn't bots. It wasn't suspicious bulk orders. It was humans, real people in real time, across multiple continents, converting at a rate usually reserved for once in a lifetime. Events like championship games or global pop icons announcing reunion tours. Calls lit up between promoters. And agents, do we add dates? Were we contractually allowed to expand this run without jeopardizing insurance? Insurers started recalculating liability because more shows mean more risk, and no one had forecast this demand. Stadium owners called management teams directly, not with offers, but with pleas. We'll move another act. Bring him here. This is worth rewriting our calendar. And somewhere in the middle of all this, Kendrick stayed silent. No boastful tweets, no mid-run interviews. It's just the same energy that's defined his career. Let the work speak. That silence was loud. It told fans, this isn't about spectacle. It's about trust. Trust that if you show up, something worth showing up for will happen. No spoilers. No gimmicks. Just the kind of rare, unmanufacturable electricity that only a handful of artists can create. And that's what freaked the industry out the most. Because in a business addicted to predictability, this was unpredictable. You can budget for hype. You can project off album sales. You can model off merch velocity. But you can't manufacture 1 million humans deciding simultaneously. that your tour is the cultural event they cannot miss. And that's the truth buried in the headline. It's not that Kendrick Lamar sold 1 million tickets, it's that he reminded everyone that hip-hop isn't just dominant online, it's alive offline. It moves cities, it moves capital, it moves people. The most sobering part for competitors. He didn't need to burn anyone down to do it. No beef, no distraction, no controversy. Just one move, clean, controlled, devastatingly effective, and an entire tier of the live music business now has to rethink what's possible. This wasn't just a flex, it was a proof of concept. And once a proof of concept exists, everyone with money, power, or ego invested in the game starts making calls. Some out of excitement, some out of fear. Either way, the board just changed. Hashtag Kendrick. 1 million hashtag tours history at Kendrick Lamar. First hint that this wasn't just a sellout tour, but a seismic event came not from hip-hop Twitter, but from an unexpected place, spreadsheets. On the morning after the last block of tickets disappeared, a junior analyst at a major ticketing platform sent a 3-word message to their boss. Check Kendrick now. What they saw made them double-check the date field. Cross markets, demand curves that normally spike and then flatten were still climbing. Fans were refreshing pages not because they missed out. They were hoping something had glitched and more inventory would magically appear. From there, the story leaped from internal dashboards into the bloodstream of the culture. First came the fans. Screenshots of purchase confirmations turned into humble brag memes. Threads popped up comparing strategies. Whose browser tabs won? Which cities sold out fastest? Who flew across time zones to beat local demand? For once, there wasn't much toxicity. It wasn't about who lost. It was about being present for something that clearly felt bigger than a normal tour cycle. Then came the press. Not the usual music blogs recycling the same copy-paste announcement, but mainstream outlets who normally ignore rap unless there's controversy. Business desks wrote about it like a case study in scarcity economics. Lifestyle sections covered it like a fashion drop. Local news stations framed it as a civic event. Kendrick Lamar show expected to generate record tourism dollars. Promoters in other genres started quietly calling around. Could this model be replicated? Was it the timing? The ticketing strategy? The lack of tiered pricing? The uncomfortable truth whispered in those calls was simple. No algorithm could have predicted this. Because no algorithm can predict trust built over a decade of consistency. Meanwhile, behind the velvet curtains of the industry, the mood turned. From AEW to calculation.festival bookers. If Lamar can fill arenas this easily, do we overpay to pull him into a festival slot? Or do we back away because we can't match the experience? Sponsors, is this the moment to switch our dollars from safe bets to whoever feels culturally essential? Even rival Alistairs were quietly texting managers. Do we speed up our release? Delay? Surprise drop to ride the wave? Or hide until the dust settles? In less than a week, a clean, drama-free tours announcement had done what? No diss track? No award show stunt? No late-night headline ever could. It rearranged the invisible pecking order of power, and the scariest part for every boardroom in town. The feedback loop hadn't even begun yet. Because when 1 million people buy tickets, 1 million little stories start. Friends planning trips, TikTok videos with countdown clocks. Local businesses stocking up for spikes in foot traffic. Radio stations queuing up deeper cuts to cash in on the anticipation. Each small act generates its own content, its own metrics, its own mini explosion of awareness that loops back into the mainstream, which loops back into demand, which loops back into pressure on everyone not named Kendrick Lamar to do something. That pressure is quiet but ruthless. It's the kind that makes executives snap at interns. It's the kind that flips budgets mid-quarter. It's the kind that makes rival rollouts feel it's insufficient no matter how many fireworks they plan. And yet, for all the noise, Kendrick himself stayed. invisible. No victory laps. No tweets dunking on competitors. Just an artist letting the scale of the move speak louder than any quote ever could. That restraint amplified the power. Because in a genre built on proving yourself, nothing reads louder than not needing to prove anything at all. So while fans screamed, analysts charted, promoters panicked, and rivals recalibrated, the most honest assessment came from an anonymous senior executive, speaking off record to a trade paper. What Kendrick just did is bigger than music. It's a reminder that culture doesn't live in spreadsheets. It lives in trust, in timing, and in artists who don't just ride the wave, they are the wave, And when the wave is that big, you either paddle fast or you get pulled under. #Kendrick, #1 million, #tour power. At Kendrick Lamar's number is clean. 1 million tickets. It's a tidy headline, the kind journalists love and fans screenshot. But in the boardrooms, the number isn't the story. The why is live music has been shifting for over a decade. Streaming devalued scarcity. TikTok taught people to expect songs in 30-second bursts. Big tours turned into multi-platform marketing blitzes with VIP packages and brand integrations. Everything was engineered, optimized, safe. And then, quietly, audiences started noticing. The spectacle was still bright. But the spark felt dim. Kendrick didn't sell out 1 million seats because he built a bigger spectacle. He sold them because he rebuilt the one thing every tour secretly depends on. Trust. Fans trusted that the night wouldn't feel like a playlist on shuffle. They trusted that the set list would be curated, not copy-pasted. They trusted that if Kendrick took their money and their time, he'd give them a memory worth telling a decade later. That trust has nothing to do with algorithms and everything to do with human pattern recognition. People watch how artists behave, not just what they release. That's the math beneath the math. The tickets are proof of purchase, but the purchase was faith in craft, faith in care, faith that hip-hop can still feel alive in a room, not just in a feed. For rivals, this is uncomfortable reading. You can't spreadsheet faith. You can't accelerate it with a hashtag. It's slow, earned in quiet ways, the opposite of how most marketing cycles are designed. It's built when artists disappear to make the work better instead of louder. It's built when they treat a crowd like witnesses, not customers. That's why agents and promoters are whispering words that sound almost old-fashioned. Intimacy, authenticity, narrative. They're realizing that the live music boom doesn't have to mean more shows. It might mean fewer better ones. Events that feel like chapters, not episodes. The ripple for the broader industry is already visible. Investment firms that bought into live event companies are adjusting risk models. If one artist can absorb that much global capacity in a single announcement, then old assumptions about supply and demand no longer hold. Suddenly, adding dates isn't the no-brainer it used to be. It's a strategic question. Does adding dilute the story? Do you protect the myth by keeping access limited? This also puts pressure on mid-tier acts. In a world where top artists turn tours into cultural events, the middle of the market can't survive on routine. They'll need to differentiate by style, by concept, by daring to make each night mean something beyond a transaction. And for hip-hop as a culture, the signal is even louder. It's proof that people don't just consume rap, they participate. In it, they crave chapters, they crave connection. They crave nights that make them feel like they were part of something historic. Even if the history is still being written, it also demolishes the old dichotomy between art and commerce. Kendrick didn't compromise the art to achieve scale. He proved that the art was the scale. In an era when gatekeepers constantly warn artists to be relatable and consistent, he just showed that risk, ambition, and patience can outperform any marketing checklist that's terrifying for people who thought they understood the rules, and thrilling for anyone who loves the possibility that music can still surprise. The number, in other words, is just the footprint. The real story is the creature that left it, a model of artistry that rewards trust over tricks, depth over noise, and memory over momentary metrics. And once a million humans have tasted that, good luck convincing them to settle for less. #Kendrick, #1million, #trust the art. At Kendrick Lamar, the time the millionth ticket was scanned, it wasn't just a tour anymore, it was a case study. A signal, a fault line running through the whole culture. Everyone felt it. You could see it in the press releases, the podcast takes. Even in the way rivals suddenly started liking old Kendrick posts they'd ignored before. It wasn't out of friendship. It was respect or fear dressed up like it. Here's what happens after an artist does the impossible. The ecosystem bends. Sponsors rethink where to spend. Festivals scramble to update lineups. Streaming platforms quietly adjust their homepages to lean into whoever just captured the public imagination. Even artists who swear they don't care about charts start booking emergency studio time, because nobody wants to be the one who sounds asleep when culture wakes up. And this wasn't just any artist. This was Kendrick Lamar, the one whose quiet breaks are as strategic as his loud drops. The one who can vanish for 18 months and return with a whole aesthetic. That feels like it was hiding in plain sight the whole time. Add to that a live infrastructure that learned from the best in every genre. Hip-hop, rock, pop, even Broadway. And what you get isn't just demand. You get gravity. Gravity changes everything. It pulls fans across borders. It drags journalists out of neutrality. It makes executives nervous in ways their NDAs won't cover. You can't fight gravity. You have to orbit it. That's where everyone else suddenly found themselves not competing for attention, but competing for proximity. For Drake, for J. Cole, for Doja, for every A-list name with an album in the chamber. This is the new baseline. Prove you can move the culture, not just trend for a weekend. Prove that your music can build communities, not just streams. Prove that you can fill arenas with feeling, not just noise. The economics will follow because they always do. Promoters will build cultural event clauses into contracts, betting on the possibility that a single night can go viral in ways advertising never could. Brands will shift from buying space to buying story. Labels, the slowest movers in any storm, will quietly start valuing patience again. Because a rollout that feels alive can do what no artificial spike ever can: create memory. And then there's the question nobody wants to ask, but everybody feels breathing on their neck. If one artist can sell 1 million tickets in record time without flooding the market, without diluting the story, without pandering to every algorithm, then maybe the entire touring model has been upside down. Maybe we've been chasing volume when we should have been chasing meaning. That's the terrifying, thrilling, liberating truth Kendrick just forced into daylight. The ceiling isn't where they said it was. The map is wrong. The rules were just habits with a PR budget, and fans. They already know. They're in the comments writing poetry about presale codes. They're turning clips into folklore before the first date even happens. They're not passive consumers, they're co-authors now. They're carrying this era on their shoulders, remixing it, amplifying it, protecting it like it's theirs because it is. The aftershock will take months to map. It will reshape tours, budgets, even the way artists talk about risk. It will scare some, inspire others, and probably destroy a few careers that were built on comfort, not conviction. But one thing is clear already. Hip-hop isn't just alive. It's awake, and it's moving faster than the people who thought they stole. I've owned it all because one artist dared to treat the world like it deserved a moment worth remembering. And 1 million people said yes. #Kendrick Lamar. #hip-hop history. #millions sold at Kendrick Lamar. At PG Long, moments like this don't happen often. 1 million tickets gone isn't just a number, it's a signal that the culture just turned a page. And no one knows what's on the next one. You don't need to be in the pit or even in the city to be part of this. You just have to care. You have to talk about it, argue about it, share it until the people who thought they controlled the charts have no choice but to listen. Because this isn't a Kendrick story anymore. This is a hip-hop story, a fan story, a your story. So let's write the next chapter together. Comment, tag, build the hype. Protect the spark. Because when a million people move at once, the world has to move with them. #hip-hop history, #Kendrick Lamar, #millions sold at Kendrick Lamar at PG Lang.